All right, welcome to the presentation. Thanks for joining us tonight. And I'm excited to share this, what I feel is very important information, very critical and essential. And I'm hoping to share some things that most people that are watching this aren't privy to. So you'll learn something tonight. I look at this more as like a science, more as an educational presentation, but really geared toward the individual on a fundamental basis. So things that really can make a difference in our daily lives. Before I do that, let me just share the disclaimer there. And all right, so we're going to cover three areas. The first one is showing you a lot of science and how, when things are scientifically based, then we can show how and why those work. And so with Isogenics, we truly feel like we're leading the way in helping people to get healthy again. And there's a lot of science behind that. So we get to explain that, which is really cool, instead of just hyping things up that don't really work. And I think so many people are familiar with that and actually quite tired of that. So we're going to get into some real science here tonight. Also, creating a healthy habit, creating any kind of new habit is difficult enough. And so what we want to get across here is that creating a healthy habit with Isogenics is easy because it's so delicious. It's delicious and nutritious. And when you don't have to fight and be disciplined to do something because you enjoy it, it makes creating a new habit much easier. And we're going to show how that plays into this as well. And then finally, saving money, especially in today's, financial, the economy, the way it is with inflation and the rising cost of the food supply and the food chain and the chain of everything, right? Everything is going up. And so I'm actually going to show you how we can save a minimum, I would say, the average person of about $300 a month, getting healthier and enjoying a new healthy habit. And so, we're going to show that as well. And it's just numbers. So you get to evaluate it and see if it's a fit for you. This was me before Isogenics. So I've been doing this for 19 years now. And something that has this kind of longevity to it, usually there's going to be some kind of, for me, profound experience that I had that changed my life. And now I've spent the rest of my life, facilitating and promoting that change because it's duplicatable. In August of 2005, my wife was introduced to Isogenics. And I said no at first, but gratefully, what a blessing it's been in my life that I got a second chance. And I got started on the products at the end of August 2005. And at that time, I was in the middle of really, for about the third time, really trying to get back into the shape that I was so accustomed to and used to. I was an athlete all through high school. I took second place in wrestling as a junior in high school in California. And I just was always fit. But here I was at 36 years old. I was as far away from that as I'd ever been. So I was exercising. I was riding my bike, forcing myself in the middle of the summer in 110-degree weather, 100 miles every 5 days. I was lifting weights. I would go to the football stadium at the local college here, and I'd run stadiums up and down the stairs because that's what we did in wrestling. I was eating healthy. I was juicing, supplement. I've always been a supplement guy, and it wasn't working. And it's very frustrating when you're putting so much into it on all these different parameters and you're not getting the results. So long story short, but it's an amazing story. This is my first 25 days after starting on the Isogenics products, the nutritional supplementation of Isogenics. And I started releasing the weight and my energy went through the roof. I've always had a problem with being tired all the time to the extreme, and it was really controlling my life. My feet were hurting and aching by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was a mechanic. I had to stand up all day. And so fighting my body, and the challenges that I was having there, fighting the weight and fighting being tired all the time, I just didn't want to be alive anymore. And all of a sudden, I was like a new creature, literally. Everybody wanted to know what I was doing. They could not only see it in my physical changes, but also in my attitude and in my energy. And I didn't know I would be sharing it like this for 19 years now. But when you find something that's of incredible value, you want to share that with other people. And that just kind of snowballed and turned into what it's been now these last 19 years. So this is a total of about 4.5 months when I first started to when I took this picture. And that's back to my high school weight. And it didn't take willpower. It was more like I was enjoying what I was doing, and yet I was getting these amazing results. And at this point, I had already shared it with a lot of people whose lives were starting to change like mine with the different challenges that they have. I'm not selling products, I'm helping to provide solutions for people. These are the main two products that I got started on back in 2005. We only had about 6 products at that time. And these were the 2 main pillars that helped me to get those results. In this video, I'm really going to cover this one, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this new one that was just released. It's a whole new technology in whole food vitamins and minerals. It's never happened before. I'm not saying whole food vitamins haven't been available before, but on the level that these are being delivered to the body and what we're feeling has never happened before. A lot of years have gone into this with Isogenics, working with scientists in different labs, and millions and millions of dollars to create what was just released a few weeks ago. So I'm excited to share a little bit about that as well on this presentation. Hippocrates is known as the father of medicine. And he said, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. Because your body has the innate ability to heal itself on every level. And what I've learned over these last 2 years on a very profound level, all the way to telomeres and DNA and stem cells, but you got to provide the body with the fuel and the micro and macronutrients it needs to be able to turn those systems on. If you can turn those systems on, then you're going to live an amazing life because your body is built to be able to thrive and to be able to handle the environment. The problem is our food is not like it used to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch I clipped up some pieces of an interview with Casey and Callie Means. And it's going to be self-explanatory as we listen to the interview. So let's start off with Casey Means, who was a surgeon, and just kind of hear her beginnings of this journey that she's been on as a surgeon.
You're a doctor.
Yes.
Tell us the progression of your thinking on this and what it did to your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So trained at Stanford Medical School, then trained as a head and neck surgeon.
Undergrad Stanford. Also.
Undergrad Stanford, medical school at Stanford, then went on to train in head and neck surgery. Yes. 9 years into my postgraduate training.
How did you do in medical school and college?
Did well, was president of my Stanford class, graduating, taught my class with honors in medical school, and went on to a very competitive surgical subspecialty. Head and neck.
So I'm just saying that because normally I dismiss credentials out of hand, but these are real credentials and they matter, I think, to your credibility. Okay.
And I did what every good little medical student, wants to do, which is climb the ranks of that academic ladder. But,
you killed it.
Did well,
yeah.
And I got to the top of that mountain, right? 9 years into my postgraduate training. And I looked around me and I realized that, patients in America are getting destroyed. Children, adults, the elderly. You're so distracted in your little surgical subspecialty, focusing on the ear, nose, and throat where I was. And you get distracted. You look around at what's happening in Americans, and our health is getting worse every single year. Patients in America are getting much sicker every year, more depressed. We're getting infertile, and life expectancy is going down.
Okay, I remember when I heard that, from the Surgeon General, and it's gotten worse since I first heard it, but that the Surgeon General said children being born today won't live as long as their parents. And that was like 15 years ago when I read that. But I just want to say here, we're going to continue to listen to Casey on this, 9 years later into her postgraduate. But it really takes a lot of courage from somebody like Casey, and also a lot of selflessness. She's not thinking about herself here. She's thinking about other people. So I just want to, give her, the credit there, because it would take a lot of courage to be in that scenario and then to do what she did. So let's continue to listen to her here.
And you decide not to do it?
Yeah. I'm in the operating room in my 5th year of my surgical residency, and I'm looking down at a patient in front of me who's on our 3rd revision sinus surgery. And, I know how to diagnose her. I know how to write the prescriptions. I know how to do the surgery. But what I kind of realized in that moment was I have no idea why this patient's actually sick. She has so many other health issues, prediabetes, arthritis. She's got some brain fog. She's got obesity, and she's got this sinus issue. And in my training, I was never, ever, ever taught to look at the whole patient, to look at how all these things are connected. And I was only taught how to, do the surgery and then bill for it. And I realized that there's a huge problem in how we're practicing medicine right now, which is we're ignoring the root causes of why Americans are sick. And we're profiting off of patients getting sick and then doing things to them. That's the way the business model of healthcare works. The the way that healthcare, which is the largest and fastest growing industry in the United States, makes money is you have more patients in the system having more things done to them for longer periods of time. And when I kind of put some of these pieces together and realized that my training had totally essentially incapacitated me from really understanding why patients are sick and how to actually help them thrive, I actually had to walk away from the surgical world because I realized that I was going to be making money off of essentially not spending time helping patients understand their health and actually just profiting off their illness.
So 9 years into medical training at Stanford, you gave it up voluntarily. On my birthday, 30th birthday, I walked into the office of the chair of the department and I put down the scalpel and I walked away and I devoted my life to why are Americans getting sicker every year? Why are 50% of American children dealing with a chronic health issue? This was less than 1% 50 years ago. Why is our health getting destroyed the more that we spend? So what did they say when you walk into your colleagues at Stanford and say, I'm giving it up at 30?
It wasn't really a conversation. I knew that I couldn't cut into one more person until I understood why Americans are getting sicker every single year. I think that the unfortunate thing is that doctors don't really understand because every level of our education is systematically focused on blinding us from thinking about root causes. We have over 100 medical and surgical subspecialties right now. And how you make money in the American healthcare system is you take a patient with 10 different issues and you send them to 10 different specialists, put them on 10 different meds, maybe eventually have 10 different surgeries. You never actually are taught how to put the pieces together, look at the whole body as a system, which of course it is. And part of this is because who are the people underwriting our medical education? It's the pharmaceutical companies. We are taught how to be very algorithmic and robotic in how we look at patients. And so ultimately I left the surgical world and I went down the rabbit hole of asking why. Why are we getting sicker every year?
It's just such a radical move to do something like that.
Yeah. I mean,
your whole life you're working toward a goal and then you give it up?
Yeah.
After 9 years?
Yeah. This is the thing that I understood and that I am working and we are spending our lives to evangelize this book, Good Energy, is that the reasons why Americans are getting sicker every year are very simple.
Okay, so that's the key. I mean, that's a lot to take in right there. It's not an isolated case. And in the very beginning, she said they never, ever, ever, she almost starts to get on her soapbox there. They've never taught them how to diagnose root causes, because they wouldn't make money if they got to the root cause and fix the problem. So again, very telling, and things that I've known and that I've trained on, but here's an interview from somebody who is from that field and did very well, top of her class, right? And exposing it. So I thought she could say it better than I could. So just a few things, I want to give a few background things, and we're going to listen from her brother and what he was involved in the lobbying groups, very telling as well. And then we'll hear from Casey one more time. But should we be concerned about what's in our food? And that's a resounding yes. But my concern changed from, oh, that's not so healthy, that's probably high in sugars and things like that, to realizing and learning what these different ingredients are and what they mean. And it's been a lot of years of study and reading, studies that were published, documentaries, going to seminars, having conversations with people who are in the know. And I really started learning, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, why are people not in jail? This is not okay. So yeah, it's a resounding yes that we should be concerned about what's in there. I could spend, 30 minutes easily talking on this page about the different colors and the cancers and the tumors and the chromosomal damage and thyroid tumors they cause, all these different things just from food colorings that people are eating every day, not rare, rare, not very often consumed colors. These things are consumed every day in I guess you could say by the truckloads by humanity. And they cause these problems. It really was baffling to me when I started learning these things and the pesticides that are in our fruits and vegetables. But let's listen to how this ended up coming about to be by one of the guys who were paying off the institutions that are supposed to have our back when it comes to the safety of our food. This is very revealing and it's jaw-dropping.
So as your sister is on one end of the equation, you're on the other. So you both have, you're from a community of strivers. That's what DC is.
Exactly.
And merit badge gatherers. And you've gotten two of the greatest merit badges ever.
Right.
HBS, Stanford Medical School. but you're all of a sudden finding yourself in Washington. Can you just explain your background a little bit?
Yeah, so I just Casey was a bit smarter than me on the biology route. I wanted to be contributing to politics from an early age, and went to Stanford to go back into politics, studied economics, political science, went straight back to campaigns after school. What I learned quickly is that the campaign's over, you work for the biggest spenders in DC, and I found myself across the desks from food industry and the farm industry. The farm industry spends 5 times more in DC than the oil industry. The food industry and the processed food industry was created by the cigarette industry. And I think this is very telling and something I learned. So in the 1990s, the 2 largest food companies in the world were R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris. What happened is when the Surgeon General way too late in the 1980s said cigarettes were maybe problematic, these were some of the largest companies in the world with the largest cash piles of any company in the world. So what they did is they used their cash piles to buy food companies. So you had in the 90s, these 2 cigarette companies very strategically do 2 things. They shifted their thousands of scientists who were experts at making cigarettes addictive to the food department. So we had the rise of ultra-processed food where our food now is a science experiment. The second thing they did is they shifted their lobbying. So the cigarette industry, of course, was the biggest, lobbying spenders and had a good playbook. They shifted their playbook on lobbying and rigging institutions of trust to food. So they created the food pyramid. So the cigarette industry, through the food companies they bought, paid off the FDA, the USDA, Harvard to create reports saying sugar doesn't cause obesity. Today, a child diet is 70% ultra-processed food. Now, what does that mean, right? Those are literally foods invented by the cigarette industry to addict kids, trying to make food cheap and addictive. And what I learned, in the morning meeting with the food companies, trying to lobby and influence the USDA, being the lifeblood of nutrition research, paying off nutrition research at Harvard and Stanford as a junior employee, shocked by that. The industry actually, with their own set interests, want to make food addictive and cheaper. It kind of makes sense. The criminal devil's bargain is that it's highly tied to the healthcare industry. And as Casey said, the fastest growing industry in America right now isn't AI. It's not tech, it's healthcare. It's the largest and fastest growing industry. And just as a statement of economic fact, the best thing for that industry is a child getting sick.
Okay, how sick is that? No pun intended. And when I realized, the difference that nutrition made in my life, in my health, my well-being, my quality of life, and then it wasn't just me, it was my family, my kids who were young at that time. The youngest was 18 months and the oldest was like 12, and I have 5 kids. And just to start to see the glow and the vigor and the focus and so many great things that were happening for us. And I just had to let more people know about it. And as I learned more about it, the more shocked I was, but the more I just stayed focused on, let's focus on the solutions and really help people to get their lives back. So here's an example of what they just talked about. So this is Sarah, really good friend. She's on my team in Isogenics. And she said she had to live close to the hospital in case she needed to get to the hospital very quickly and get a transfusion. And she wasn't getting better. Well, her OT, occupational therapist, Crystal, who was coming into her home, shared Isogenics with her. So this is that system that they were just talking about, right? And what all led up to that. And there's hundreds and thousands, probably millions of stories like Sarah's, but, as far as getting to this place. But what happened here is let me just say, she started having a transformation once Crystal shared the nutrition of Isogenics with her. I'm not making any claims around curing any illnesses or diseases. We can't do that. But obviously, if you improve your nutrition, you're going to improve your quality of life, your well-being. And it didn't stop there, you guys. And she became a finalist in our competition that we have. This is about 6 months ago. This was in August. And now Sarah is absolutely enjoying her life. Her and her new boyfriend, they're going around. They just bought a trailer to put on the back of the Subaru. She's hiking, she's kayaking, she's doing all the things that she loves. And, they said what's great for the medical system is like people getting sick, right? How much money is the healthcare system making off of Sarah and her insurance company now? Now that she's like this? Nothing. They were making a lot right here, nothing right here. And when I started to see and make these connections, I want to stay mad. I just wanted to help people to understand and educate so that we could, help people to make better choices and then give them, the tools to be able to do that with Isogenics. In Food Matters, they said good health makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't make a lot of dollars. And what did they say? That healthcare industry is the fastest growing industry in North America right now, or probably in the world, but outgrowing and outpacing AI and technology. When we know how fast that's growing and how much money that produces, I mean, look how many hospitals are around. Look how many people are in those hospitals. So this is just a really short clip from one of the documentaries that started to wake me up.
One of the best things terrorists could do is just build more fast food restaurants, maybe add another pharmaceutical company, have a couple more infomercials, and encourage people to eat the way they eat now. And everybody's going to be dead in 100 years. They can just walk right in, don't have to do a thing.
One quarter of what you eat keeps you alive, and 3/4 of what you eat keeps your doctor alive.
Cancer rates going up, heart disease going up, stroke going up.
We're poisoning ourselves with highly processed, nutrient-depleted foods.
One of the major problems is what we do to the soil and the air and the water and everything we take in our food.
We, for whatever reason, decided we're going to spray everything with every kind of pesticide, herbicide, larvicide, fungicide. We decided we're going to genetically modify things we don't know anything about. Can we actually improve what has already been created? And the answer is maybe, but not the way we've been doing.
Yeah, we can, and we're doing it. We just need more, soldiers out there to help spread this word. This is one of the things that really blew me away. In 2007, it took 51 bowls of spinach to get the same amount of nutritional quality that used to be in one bowl of spinach in the 1950s. That's a UCLA study. And it's not just spinach, it's minerals across the board. And so now it's about 75 bowls of spinach. This is a study that said you can't eat enough fruits, vegetables, and grains to supply your body with the minerals it requires for perfect health. So you need about 90 different nutrients. So when Dr. Callie was saying that she was never taught to treat the body as a whole system, and she said, and of course it is, that whole system needs these nutrients that are essential. These are the bare minimum, and 60 of them are minerals. And this is really what Food Matters gets into, is the minerals that are in the soil. They're not there anymore. This is showing 8 of them, that there's no milligrams of those minerals. That's phosphorus, selenium, copper, magnesium, cobalt, calcium, zinc, iron. So what's going to happen to the whole system if it can't be fueled? Because that's the fuel, just like the fuel for your car is. If you don't put fuel in your car, it's not going to run. Our bodies are amazing miracles. They'll keep you alive. You may be in survival mode. You may be miserable, but it'll keep you alive, probably eating cardboard. So look at the rise of disease as a result of the body not getting just those 8 minerals. Remember, there's 60 of them. And then the other thing that we're learning so much about, and that I'm feeling on fire with this new product, 30 key vitamins, amino acids, and fatty acids, and how important those are. And now I know, I'm way more about this now after I've been taking this new product and the way I'm feeling. So look at where the diseases were when the minerals were in the food. Just those 8. So Linus Pauling, the guy has 48 PhDs and 2 Nobel Prizes, says every sickness and disease can be traced back to a mineral deficiency. Well, he said that decades before this graph was even printed. So, but we can see it right here. Here's the rise of disease. And it's all directly related to a metabolic issue that starts with what we're putting in our body and what's ending up in our gut, or what's not ending up in our gut. So this is the last one from the Means, Casey and Callie. This one is probably the most awakening for people that, even if these are the latest statistics, because that, where the guy was saying cancer's on the rise, diabetes is on the rise, that was back in 2008. And the guy in the beginning of the video, he said, if you're a terrorist, just build more fast food restaurants, get more pharmaceuticals into people, and just get them to keep doing what they're doing. It's not been 100 years yet. It's only been about 70 years since this really started going downhill. So could you imagine where we're going to be at in another 30 years? Listen to these statistics.
Can you just give us the baseline condition of health in the United States?
Absolutely. So the word I used earlier, destroyed, is not hyperbolic in any way, shape, or form. 74% of American adults now are overweight or obese. Close to 50% of children are overweight or obese. 120 years ago, when someone was obese, there were case reports written about it.
Yes.
Literally, there were people in the circus if you had obesity.
Sideshow fat. Yeah, it was so unusual.
It was so unusual. It is now 74% of our country. 77% of young adults are unfit to serve in the military because of these issues like obesity. Now let's talk about diabetes. 50%, a full 50% of American adults have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, which is a fundamental issue in how
Half
the country, Tucker, have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, and 30% of teens now have prediabetes. This was a condition that no pediatrician would have seen in their lifetime 50 years ago. 1% of Americans in 1950 had type 2 diabetes. We have 18% of teens with fatty liver disease, a disease that used to be in late stage alcoholics. Cancer rates are skyrocketing in the young and the elderly. Young adult cancers are up 79%. And this is the first year in American history we're estimated to have over 2 million cases of cancer. 25% of American women are on an antidepressant medication. 40% of 18-year-olds have a mental health diagnosis. We have the highest infant and maternal mortality rate in the entire developed world, despite spending 2x on infant and maternal care than any other country. So you have a higher risk of dying as a woman giving birth in America than any other developed country in the world. Autism rates in kids are 1 in 36 nationally. This was 1 in 1,500 in the year 2000, and the screening has not changed in California, where I live.
I just want to linger on that. And the screening has not changed. So
in 20 years,
the definition hasn't changed.
No, 1 in
the incidence has
32
changed.
from 1 in 1,500 in California. 1 in 36 right now. It was 1 in 1,500 in California. It's 1 in 22. One of the worst states in the country for autism. So this is just a smattering.
What the hell?
And all of these conditions. I mean, and I could go on and on. Autoimmune diseases, infertility is at peak rates. I mean, I don't know how this is not front page news. Infertility is going up 1% per year. Sperm counts are going down 1% per year since the 1970s. Sperm counts are down
continuing
50%,
to drop?
Continuing to drop.
Oh, at an increasing rate. Our bodies are crying out for help.
26% of women have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Now, the thing that people need to understand is that all of these conditions are caused or driven by the exact same thing, which is metabolic dysfunction, this core foundational issue of how our bodies on the cellular level function, which is driven by our toxic food system and our toxic environment.
Okay, one point I want to make here, though, as well. Set the ultra-processed food aside. And there are people who have learned habits and lifestyles that are keeping them healthier than people who are eating the ultra-processed food. But even the whole foods are falling short. They're insufficient in what our bodies are needing. And so, I pointed that out with the spinach and whatnot. This is just going to wrap up what they just said, and then we're going to get into the solution. I like these little reels. They reach millions of people, and they're very informative. So let's watch this one first. It's less than a minute.
1985, tobacco giant R.J. Reynolds bought Nabisco Foods. Tobacco pioneer Philip Morris bought General Foods, and 3 years later, Kraft Foods, making them the largest food producer in North America. And leaving the business of food in the capable hands of the same corporations who helped addict us to tobacco. Using the same tactics they used to promote tobacco, food companies set about peddling the entire planet a diet of processed goods, loaded with chemicals and additives, masquerading as food. This new machine operates with specific targets in mind, like addicting consumers without them knowing it.
Okay, so like a 45-second overview of what we just heard about the tobacco companies and their profits over people. This was really interesting. This is the health secretary, somebody who's supposed to be our watchdog for us to make sure that food companies and the suppliers of food sources are doing all the things that won't harm us. This is the United States Health Secretary. This is Belgium's. There's Britain's. And there's Quebec's. Something's not right, guys. Something's not right. Are you starting to see a pattern here? So the solution. Let's get into the solution. And again, I don't sell products. I want to help people. I love helping people. That's why I became a mechanic. But I love helping people with their health. It's been more satisfying than anything I could have imagined doing. It's been such a blessing. So let's go into a case study. It was a clinical study that was done by Dr. Paul Arciero, and he's just going to give a brief overview of what happened to this gentleman in 4 months. And this clinical study and all the results that are in it ended up in Nature Communications. It's the top of the pinnacle of clinical studies. It's the hardest to get into. It's the strictest out of all of them. And he is so proud that we just got published with this study in Nature Communications. There can't be any naysayers. And a lot of doctors are joining with Isogenics now that have been told about this. And they're like, okay, we get it now, because they understand what Nature Communications is. It's the supreme of the supreme when it comes to publications. Because some of them you could do a clinical study and they're not really double, triple checked or even double checked, and you can get into some of them, right? And they have a stair step. This is the highest one. So let's listen to Dr. Paul Arciero talk just about for just a minute about this gentleman and the results that he saw in the clinical study.
This gentleman was 62 years old. So I just want to speak to some of you out there that think age makes a difference in how we respond to things. I'm here to tell you that nothing is further from the truth. At 62 years old, he had the greatest response. And again, the average age was 44, 46. He was 62. He had the greatest change in body weight loss, body fat loss, visceral fat loss, and gut remodeling. This is his gut remodeling right here that I'm showing you. We followed him because he lost 105 pounds in 120 days. His doctor called me and she said, this is unbelievable. I've been working with this patient for over 30 years. He's tried every diet known to humans, and he's never had this type of a response. His liver enzymes, his kidney enzymes, his blood work, he's reversed his diabetes. And I know, many of you aren't able to say this, but I can because I documented it in the study. He reversed his diabetes. He reversed his high blood pressure. He reversed his high blood lipids, all of those. Amazing. I'm going to end here because I think this brings it all home. Look at his gut in the picture on the left. This is him when he started. And this was 3 days before we started the study. We started the study in the fall, right at Labor Day. In 4 months, 120 days, he lost 105 pounds. He reduced his body fat drastically. His waist circumference just fell off. His blood sugar, again, he was diabetic. He went from diabetic to non-diabetic. He was hypertensive to non-hypertensive. I think I'll end there just because that's a telling picture that speaks 1,000 words.
Okay.
This gentleman was 62 years old. So
just to point out, everything begins with the gut, you guys. Well, it really begins with our choices and what we put in our bodies. And if we think we're putting something good because of false advertising, it doesn't matter. When it hits the gut, the science is going to take over, right? The reaction, cause and effect, action and reaction. And so I just want to point out here that this was all about remodeling his gut, which then distributes all of that to the body. And so a clinical study, again, that ended up in the Nature Communications journal. And so this study, I'll just give you a snapshot of it. It was 6 months, no exercise with the participants. They had two groups, one that was consuming Isogenics, the other one that was eating whole food source. They were getting their micro and macros from a whole food source, not from processed food. They couldn't go to McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatever. And so they were putting them on the healthiest diet. In fact, it was the #1 diet that's recommended by healthcare professionals through the studies that they came up with. And so Dr. Paul said the difference between the people that were on Isogenics and those that were on the whole food diet was so wide that I wouldn't believe it. Like, I wouldn't have believed that this study was valid, because the difference is they released 4 times more fat, put on 4 times more lean muscle, building that muscle that atrophies away and causes so many other health problems and dangers to the individual. It actually put on 4 times more muscle while losing 4 times more fat with no exercise. Doubled the metabolism and tripled the metabolic waste and toxins and heavy metals and pesticides, getting them out of the body through the urination process. Tripled them. And so not only did we outperform head to head, the body performed in a way he had never seen before. I know Dr. Paul, I had him get on that Zoom for us, and he said, yeah, I wouldn't have believed it, that it not only outperformed a whole food diet, but it's doing things we've never known the body was even capable of doing. And, like 33% decrease in visceral fat, that interstitial fat that is the most difficult to get rid of. He said, you never even see that with exercise. It doesn't even matter if you're an athlete. You don't see that kind of fat loss around the visceral fat. And so, again, why did we outperform whole food just head to head? Because it doesn't have the adequate amount of micro and macronutrients in it. And that's, that's not even arguable. The other side of it is we have more than those minimum 90 nutrients. There's closer to 200 active ingredients, and we just keep improving the science. There's PuraPlant21 or PuraPlant21 new whole food vitamin with all its science and technology is in our shake now. Because in the past, there's been whole food vitamins, but they don't stabilize well. Like if you were to squeeze an orange, the orange juice, and you put it in the fridge, the vitamin C is gone within 24 hours. It loses its potency. So stabilizing the whole food vitamin was the biggest challenge. Yeah, you could do it, but then as far as how, the efficacy behind the product, how good is it really? Not as good as if you had eaten the orange right after peeling it. And then the wide spectrum of them. It's in our shake now. Because in the past, all you've been able to do is use the best of what you can use and only get a partial part of the vitamin through a synthetic vitamin. They work, they're not dangerous, and they help, but they're incomplete. So it's just Isogenics keeps taking things to the next level. Like the best shake just got better. So this study was done without the new whole food vitamin technology. There's closer to 200 active ingredients in that shake. That's why it produced those kind of results, unlike anything they'd ever seen. And now it's validated through, the highest, publication you can get in, Nature Communications. Point number 2 is that, it's got to be enjoyable. If it's not delicious, if you're not enjoying it, if it's not somewhat easy to do, it doesn't take a lot of willpower. If it takes a lot of willpower, a lot of discipline, probably not going to stick to it. Like how many people get a gym membership in January and then by February, nobody's going to the gym again. It's all the people that have created the habit. Maybe they pick up a couple new people. So this is Peter Ullman, 64 years old here, and I know Peter personally. He's 84 here. That's 20 years of being on Isogenics. And he's like 87 now. Then you have Bill Foster. He's been on products for over 5 years now and totally transformed his life. I'll show another picture of his in just a second. They thought he might die on this hunting trip, like literally, but they thought, well, at least he'll die doing something he enjoys doing. My results, that's me at 28. That's me at 50, 6 years ago. I look younger now at 56 than I did when I was 28. Heather released over 125 pounds, felt amazing, was able to maintain it, and not only maintain it, but help other people do the same. And here she is in People magazine, as a health coach. They're spotlighting her like she's now a health coach helping people because it's a simple, easy, and very affordable way to create healthy habits and get the results that healthy people get. Health is a habit. Healthy people do healthy things every day. Chase was trying to build muscle, tried the supplements, and most of the supplements are way compromised. And when I say most, over 90% of them are way compromised. And so they're not giving you the effect that you would think they should. He gets on Isogenics and in 4 months puts on about 14 pounds of lean muscle through working out. Bill had been on the products for 4 years. His health improved to the point where he now qualified for the lung transplant. Before he had too many comorbidities, they said it would be a waste of lungs. You're going to die, even if we give you new lungs. So why don't we just give them to somebody else who will be able to use them for a longer period of time? And, unfortunately, that's the way they rate things. So, but his health got so much better. He started working out, and they're like, yeah, you totally qualify now with flying colors. Not only that, he got the new lungs, and he's gotten released from the hospital in record time for Stanford, 13 days after the surgery. And now he wants to break the world record for bench pressing. He's up to 315 pounds. He's going to be 73, I believe. He's probably 73 now. Kenya in People magazine, Isogenics, 439 pounds. Now she's down about 530. Every one of my kids, and now my grandkids. Carter was 18 months old. He's about 3 there. He's 14 there. He's 21 now. And our grandkids starting on it with a sippy cup. And to see what happened to my kids, like the night and day difference, because I had teenagers, young teenagers, and then, Carter, and to see their health and their well-being improve so dramatically was very profound for me to be able to observe that. So making it a healthy lifestyle, it's delicious. And if it's delicious, you're going to keep craving it, right? Well, it's nutritious on top of that. The third thing is saving money. And literally, I'm saying you'll save over your current food budget. If you replace 2 meals a day, which I've been doing for 19 years, you don't have to, but I would say minimum 1 meal a day, every day, don't miss. But 2 meals is better, right? So if you did 2 meals a day, that's 56 meals. I'm going to show you the tally on that. But I've been using this example since 2006. And that meal from Burger King was $7.40 back then. Our meal was $2.74. So we've gone up. This is the most recent price increase, and we just did it recently, like a month ago. And so that's calculating our newest cost for a complete meal. This looks like a complete meal, but it's not complete. It's just a lot of calories, right? 1,200 calories. But when it comes to the nutrition, there is no nutrition. That's killing people. If you forgot, watch Super Size Me. But McDonald's, for a Big Mac, a medium fry, and a large Coke, $14.68 from McDonald's, which is probably the worst of the fast food. You start eating healthier and it's a prepared meal, you're going to be over 20 bucks. I'm not saying you can't get a cheaper meal. This is just the one that I've used since 2006. And this is about the price of that now. So in all these categories, that's $840 if you did that twice a day, 2 takeout meals. I don't think too many people are doing that nowadays. $220 for the same 56 meals, only these are the healthiest meals proven clinically that you can put in your body. And they do satiate you, and you do crave them. That's all science and physics. That's about, the alkalinity versus acidity in your body, what you crave. You think you crave a Snickers bar or ice cream or cookies or chips. Nope, it's your body and the acidity that's causing that. And an acidic body is an unhealthy body. When your body goes alkaline, you crave alkaline foods, which means you don't crave acidic foods anymore. So your appetite goes down because you're getting the nutrients your brain and body needs, and you're getting your appetite is decreased as well. So you're not buying as much, you're not putting as much in your food because you're not depleted. So I'd say a shake lasts, 4 to 5 hours. So there's no way you could go to this grocery store and get 56 meals, not even close, for $220 for the healthiest meals at the grocery store. Because to be fair, in that evaluation, you'd have to buy the healthiest meals, even though that falls short of what our healthy meal is. But to be fair, in price comparison, you'd have to buy the healthiest meals from the grocery store. There's no way you could do it for $220. And then would you eat it all? I remember when I was juicing, I threw a lot of fruits and vegetables away by the end of the week. All right, so yeah, you could get a cheaper meal like macaroni and cheese, but it's not much cheaper. $3.43 from Walmart. That's from Walmart's website. And could you eat 56 meals of macaroni and cheese in a month? I've done it for 19 years with Isogenics. Sometimes I do 3 a day just because I'm so busy and I'm concentrated and focused and I don't want to stop doing what I'm doing. And it's just so easy to make. But mostly I do 2 shakes a day. And then I eat a third meal, and then I have a few snacks. But I don't snack hardly at all in between meals anymore. I'm not saying I don't, but not like I used to. And the things that I snack on, they're not the ultra-processed foods anymore. So, but again, if you eat something besides the macaroni and cheese, which you're going to need to because you're still going to be hungry, some chips, maybe a cookie, maybe some soda, something in between. You'd have to add it to the cost of this. So it might look cheaper up front, but as the hours go by, you're putting more in your body, which is costing you more. That's why I'm saying, look, the average person is going to save at least $300 a month, because you're not going to eat the cheapest meals that the grocery store has to offer every day. You're not going to eat top ramen every day. So those meals that you're eating are probably pretty close to this if you're making it your own meals from scratch, or they're more, or they're costing more than this. And what is that doing for our health? Now, some people do choose healthier things, but I'm telling you, your health is going to evolve. Your well-being is going to accelerate when you start putting this in your body. So 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. If none of it holds up to what I just shared with you or anything else you want to make up, you can return it and get your money back. So there's absolutely no risk. And you get 56 free meals, if you get your money back. Let's just listen to Dr. Plant, he's our CSO, and Dr. Paul Arciero just took his place, the one who did our clinical studies. But Dr. Joshua Plant he was the #1 graduate in Harvard Medical School in his class, and he did it in half the time while he was married with kids and working full time. And he's the one that has helped spend, over the last 5 years and create this new technology with scientists across the country to have what we have today. Really short, like 2 minutes. Let's listen to what Dr. Plant says about the whole synthetic vitamin, how that happened, and what the PuraPlant21 is.
Oh, let's talk about something you probably never thought you'd be talking about, vitamins, right? What makes a vitamin different? It's an everyday word that we use. We see it everywhere. How can we stand out in this, or how can we revolutionize something as old as vitamins? And to me, this has been kind of a big part of what I've been working on in the last 5 years. The reason is because, one, the vitamin space hasn't changed in 100 years. It hasn't changed in 100 years, and yet it is by far the largest segment of the supplementation space. And to me, it's sad that this huge behemoth of the supplement space hasn't evolved in 100 years. People have just been kind of going the status quo when there has been a huge gap in the need of what people are looking for. And it's not just finding different ratios of vitamins. It's nothing like that. It is way more revolutionary than that. If people can fully understand the message of what we are conveying here, the way in which you are looking at your pantries, the way in which you look at all the food that has been handed to you since about 1950 has been greatly adulterated. So right now, for the last 100 years, people have not been able to solve this problem. We know we can prevent people from getting scurvy and pellagra and dying by putting in synthetic vitamins, but we're not being able to provide optimal wellness. And it is because these natural vitamins that the food inherently contains is so quickly degraded. Your vitamin C in orange juice, fresh squeezed orange juice, is only going to last a day, right? And so how do you solve this problem? And this is what we've been working on for years at Isogenics, is we've been able to work with partners and different labs across the United States to where we've been able to analyze and isolate these natural vitamins and put them in a protective cellulose casing. That's the cell wall of plant material. And so now they're protected. Now individuals for the first time can now get all of their vitamins and minerals sourced from whole fruits and vegetables. And for the most part, the average individual really hasn't been getting their vitamins sourced from natural fruits and vegetables since about the 1950s.
This is so profound. And the fact that when you put this in, you feel it immediately. And we had so many people at the event where this was released a couple of weeks ago in Arizona. Like, I felt it immediately. And it's been 2 weeks? Saturday will be 2 weeks. I am on fire, you guys. I'm getting stuff done, man. I'm baffling myself on my dopamine. For women, it would be serotonin and oxytocin, and my energy level, and just my overall feeling like the reason I say energy separate from dopamine, because dopamine is more about feeling good, more about a positive outlook, more about being able to handle stress. And I just feel amazing and I want to get stuff done. And I cut out, there's a lot that he has here. You might want to revisit it. We have this, in more clips and with longer pieces than when you have the whole version. But the way the synthetic vitamins came about was because the ultra processed food. They took all the vitamins out of the ultra processed food and people started getting sick really quick. And they're like, oops, let's fix that. And so they came up with synthetic vitamins, which only cover a certain dynamic within each of the category. You're missing all these other areas. So that means your systems aren't being activated to do what they need to do, produce the innate self-occurring chemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and different things like that, telomerase, all these different things. And so you're missing them. It's preventing disease. And he says, I want you to know synthetics aren't causing a problem. They're just not raising people's, elevating people's well-being. It's keeping them alive. And then it's not keeping up. We're losing the tug of war. You put these whole vitamins, look at every area is dotted in. No wonder I'm feeling so good. I get it. Like I've had time to think about this now and process it, because the way I felt was so dramatic in what other people are reporting, even with their gut. Like there's nothing in here that a vitamin, a nutritionist would say, yeah, that's good for your gut. It's because it's activating the systems that provide, the needs of each of the different whole being that the body is, like Dr. Casey said. And so we're activating those systems, and now our digestive system is getting stuff, like Wendy said, for a month. She's like, am I going through menopause now, or what's going on? She just wasn't feeling right, regardless of what she had been doing and what she had tried to do. She gets on this, and in the first dose, I shouldn't say dose, the first serving, 2 pills a day, take them at the same time. And they said, we're going to be sticklers on that. Take those 2 at the same time. She started feeling it right away. We're hearing so many stories. And lastly, I'll just share my wife's. We were on our way to church, a meeting in the afternoon, and she said, I could tell I forgot to take my PuraPlant. I could tell, and I'm like, what are you not feeling? She says, just that motivated energy. And so you guys, I'm going to run with this. This is going to be, it's a game changer for me, because I've had little dips, even though I remember I had problems with my fatigue, and then Isogenics, I would say, took away probably 85 to 90% of that, which changed my life because where I was before. This is filling in that last 15 to 20%. And I'm just excited about the stuff I'm going to get done because I feel like doing it. And there's so many things that I've wanted to do, but when I don't feel like doing something, I'm just a rebel. I'm just like a mule. I don't do it, even though I want to do it. And it was my mind and my body when it hits that dip. And this just filled that in. So I'm super excited about that for myself and for other people. So 5 years in the making. Who footed the bill for this? Isogenics, not Dr. Plant. He's working as our CSO, and he says, hey, I got an idea. They're like, okay, we'll back you on that. 5 years and millions of dollars. Revolutionary, never been done. Not on this level, not this delivery system. And you just got to experience how it feels, guys. And I wanted to see what the plant cell membrane looked like. This is it right here. This is saying cell membrane, the darker yellow. They encapsulated in that. That's what's protecting the plant from the environment. It's protecting it in the bottle now too, and in our shakes. So lastly here, the cost, I went over the shakes. 2 shakes a day, if you want to do 2 shakes, $220, $55 a canister. I didn't talk about the collagen. We will after this recording if we want to do that, the telomere support. If you did the 2 shakes or 2 shake canisters, which is a shake every day, so you replace breakfast with the PuraPlant21, $170. So that's going to replace nearly, your month's worth of meals for 1 a day. And then that's a month's supply of the PuraPlant. And there's a combination of them in the shake as well. That same technology of the PuraPlant is in our shakes now. I take it with the shake. I don't know, maybe that's why I feel so dang good. If you'd got just a bottle by itself, Dr. Plant said in that Zoom, if you were to get what this is supplying in a whole food source, like you peeled the orange and you ate the orange, to get all of the vitamins and minerals that are in this, and you did it at Whole Foods and bought them in their raw form and ate them that way, you'd be about $20 a day. So very quickly in 3 days, this is paid for, and nobody's ever going to do that. You're not going to go out. Your stomach's not big enough to eat as much as it would take anyways. So some really cool information to be able to share, some very empowering information, and what I feel is very essential information. So just get back with the person that got you here, share this with you, and they're going to be more than happy and excited to help you get on this journey.